Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kody with Up To Kode. Today I'm going to show you how to mud a butt joint that's too close to an outside corner bead. So sometimes what happens is when you're boarding, whether you're inexperienced or you got a little miniature set like we do today, this butt joint ends up too close to a corner bead, and you could get away with doing this independently of the butt joint. But I just know from past experience, especially baseboarding, you're going to you have a high spot here, it's going down to nothing, and then it has a slight hump in the wall where the butt joint is. Now, I don't want to see that. I want to go nice and flat. I'm going to build up this middle so it's basically straight across, and then I'm going to taper down to drywall over to the right. Then this is basically bonus feature. I'm going to incorporate the corner bead and everything all at once. It's basically super butt joint into a corner bead, both sides of the angle, and yeah, gonna watch me play around with some mud for a few minutes. Okay, I know the corner bead part really isn't the specifics of this video, but we got to do it anyway because we're here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load up from here up. I'm going to work up high, and then I'm going to do the bottom section and just blend into the top. I'm just loading it on for now. Notice it was just about to fall out, and I just kept going down and taking my trowel flat.
Yeah, you make that look easy.
Okay. Just gonna go lightly. I want this to be a little bit heavy on this bead so that as I fine tune it all, I could take off a little bit more mud. I got to get on my tippies. I'm going to cut this left edge off. So all the weight's on the left-hand side of my trowel. Cut that off. See how much mud's left? Then I'm just going to go real light. So that side's good until I get to the end. Then I'm going to treat the butt joint like a butt joint. Up the center. Get it flat. And this trick that I'm teaching you right now is actually really good if you're doing renovations. This is where I learned this trick, is just having oddball situations happen where I need to make something flat. I'm going to go super wide, so I'm just going to go overlap my old butt about 2 inches. Gonna go straight up and just applying the mud, getting it on there, making sure that I have more than enough. You can see the right hand side's way too heavy. I'm just going to put a fair bit of pressure, not all of it on the right side. I'm not totally cutting that edge, but just tapering the mud a bit. Okay, this is the hard part. I want to load up heavy in the middle. I don't want to dig any of my work out. So I'm just gonna, sometimes I'll just go like this and try not to dig out any mud. Because if I do that, I just have to reapply it everywhere else. See, I'm a little too wide. If I just load it in the middle. Okay, she's heavy. Now comes the hard part. I'm going to wipe this, try to get flat with the left and the right side. Okay, you can still see how heavy this section is because I can see a nice heavy ridge there and a heavy ridge there. The top I got to be gentle on because I'm getting a little thin. No pressure at the top, more pressure as I work my way down. And the hardest part is not digging out your work. Now I'm going to clean up this left-hand side of this bead. When I'm doing beads, I like to hold my trowel nice and square, because if I hold it flat like this and I push really hard, I'm just going to bow my trowel and I'm just going to create a bow on the wall. So if I hold it nice and square, it's actually going to hold it more true and straight. And that's why it's nice to have this left side cut off. I don't have to worry about cutting it flush with the drywall. I can just hold my trowel square. Gonna be hard. Batman. I'm gonna blend one more time up, that's it. I don't want to remove too much mud on the first coat. I want it nice and full because it's gonna shrink back anyway, and I want to get away with 2 coats on these beads and the giant butt joint. So now I have to float this side a little bit. I don't want to dig out the work. I need to put a little pressure on the left-hand side where it's touching the corner bead and basically let the right-hand side of my trowel float. Now I can finish up this butt joint. I'm going to go down the center of my tape because I want to make sure I have just enough coverage over my tape. I'm going to cut this left side now officially. I keep thinking, because I keep flipping my trowel around, I'm going to cut the right-hand side now officially. That's good. I'm going to leave that. Now I'm going to wipe just nice and flat down this chunk. A little more pressure on the right as to not dig out the work on the left. Now the hardest part, actually make sure your trowel's nice and clean for this. Because if you start getting hitchhikers now, you're going to be not so happy. Tricky. No weight at the top. A little more weight as I move myself down. Basically right now I'm just judging whether I do one more wipe, and I think I will. I don't want too much mud on here. I'm going to cut this right hand side a little bit. Remember, I'm just floating on the right hand side, pressure on the bead on the left. Okay, over the butt joint one more time, up the middle, over the middle of my tape or the center of my tape. Widen that out. Doesn't help that I'm a shorty. Gonna do this right hand side. More pressure on the right. Let the left hand side just float, not to dig the work out. Down here, nice and flat, even pressure. Flatten it right out. And one more down the center of my tape, just to flatten out that butt joint. And I'm going to do this one more time. Oh boy. I'll finish up this bottom here in a sec. But what I want to point out is you can tell that I'm not too shallow. I have just enough mud on because I'm still creating ridges. If you start seeing hollow spots, or if you dig your work out, you just have to keep reapplying. So I know I'm nice and proud, but I still feel like we're flat. So that's good. We can knock those ridges off a little bit, and once we do the second coat, it should be good to go. Now I just got to blend this in. Just gonna go light on the left. Light on the right. Gonna cut these edges off. Cut that. That's cut.
That was a nice blend.
Not bad. Now, when we did the butt joints, I did this super corner bead, super butt joint thing, but I just want to show you how straight it ended up being. My first coat on this bead is pretty darn straight. And that's because I didn't lean on my trowel flat against the wall. I tried to hold it more square. I also want to show you, let's see if I did a good job on this butt joint. If you can see, I'll just slide it along the wall. Doesn't really rock anywhere, and there's no major daylight. So that's pretty flat. When I do the second coat, it's basically just skimming over top of all that. And when I second coat this, I'll just go a hair wider. It's going to dry really quick because it doesn't need to shrink back. It's not super thick. So that's how you do it, folks. Butt joint's too close to an outside corner. Make your wall nice and flat. Do a super butt joint, and that's how it's done.